Yo, yo, what's up? Happy Thursday already. Holy smokes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what's up? Nia Perez, what's up? How you doing? First one in the building, I see. How the heck is everybody? I can't believe it's already Thursday. This week has gone by super fast. It's weird. You win a game and the week goes by fast. You lose a game and it feels like a year. So I'm gonna drop a little intro and we'll get going with the show. Today I want to do a little Q&A, drop some questions. We'll talk about week 3. What is up? What is up? What is up? How the heck are we doing? Look at that. I put the intro on. We went from 1 to 40 people already. Awesome. Hit the like button. Let's go. Let's do it. Terrence Wilson was good. Eric O, let's go. Christine Workman, hello. Sad Niner fan. How many sacks for both? So I think he gets 2 this week. Nia says, happy Friday Eve. Bailey says, bang, bang, Niner gang. Enrique says, what up? What up, Enrique? I'm doing good, man. I hope you're doing good. The Slasher Gamer, what's up? I'm doing good. How are you doing? I was a busy day today. It was a busy day. Oh man, I'm struggling here. I'm so bumbling. I'm tired, first of all. Had a long day today. I had to go into the clinic today. I usually don't on Thursdays now. I did like a home health patient, and then the clinic's like, hey, where you at? I was like, what do you mean? I don't have anybody to come in today unless you have new admissions. I told them I'd come in and see some evals. Oh, we don't have any. I was like, well, I'll see you next time. And they're like, no, we got you on the schedule today. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I really wasn't in a work mode today. So I had to coffee it up and then go do what I had to do. So busy. I know it was a tiring day today. When you're not like ready to be in work mode and you have to work. But anyways, enough about that. I hope everybody's had a good Thursday. We got a football game coming up like 30 minutes. So I won't be too long today. We got Green Bay and Tampa Bay. That's going to be a fun game. Oh, man, what's up? Christine says that sucks. Yeah, it sucks, but you get money, so I can't complain too much. Let's talk about this. Christine says, is Kittle playing? It looks like he is. He practiced today for the second straight day. The videos look good. He was in the locker room and he was talking to reporters, and he says he feels great. And all signs point to George Kittle playing on Sunday. I think that's going to be really good. That's going to be really good. The Niners need him. He needs to get back into, playing form. Might be a little rusty, but we need him for the blocking game, especially. And we know Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle have a special connection. And, the last time George Kittle was in Denver, he kind of went off. You guys remember that game? I posted the highlights, I think, somewhere. I think on my Instagram. Everybody's been posting about it today. But 210 yards in the first half. 210 yards in the first half. You remember that year? That was an abysmal season. We were so bad. And Nick Mullins was quarterback. As the year, Jimmy goes down. But, man, George Kittle had the season of his life that year. Breaks the record. He breaks record after record. 210 yards in the first half. And they couldn't get him the ball in the second half. I was so mad that game. The fact that they couldn't give him the ball in the second half. I remember that. I was like, can you give him more? I thought he was going to have like 500 yards receiving, and he had 210. He didn't get any in the second half. But, I mean, that's like the game that kind of put him on the map. That season, of course, put George Kittle on the map. But, man, that game was like, oh, my God, George Kittle. So it's going to be fun playing against Denver. They have DJ Jones. They got K'Wan Williams. It's going to be interesting to see all the old players and the new players, embracing before and after the game. So Nia says, ready for some Kittle over the middle. Yeah, that was the season when I used to scream, Kittle over the middle. Kittle over the middle. And I mean, that took off. The nickname went off because it was always Kittle over the middle. Literally, he was our only weapon that year. And it was just, boom, what play are they going to run? Kittle over the middle. Kittle over the middle. Kittle over the middle. I mean, that's kind of how that came apart. It was a crazy year. I mean, oh, my God. That year was just so bad. The Slasher says, we need George Kittle to have 1,000 yards receiving this year. I hope he can get up to 1,000 yards. He's off to a slow start with the 2 missed games. But, the thing about Kittle is he does so much in the blocking game. So there's going to be some games where he has like 40 yards, 30 yards, and then he could go off for like 200 yards, 150, like crazy games, like the Bengals game, man. He was all over the place. And then there was that game against Seattle last year. He like took care of business. And then there's just games where he doesn't really get much. He doesn't get featured in the passing game, or they're doubling him up and he's opening it up for Debo and everybody else. So it's tough. I do want him to get 1,000 yards. He's capable of it, but he does a lot of stuff on this team that does go unnoticed, I think, to the normal fan. He does a lot of things that you look at the box score, you don't see what George Kittle does. He gets the pancakes. He gets a lot of blocks in that running game. We always look for, when you're looking at stats in fantasy terms, catches, receiving yards, touchdowns. He doesn't get all those all the time. So, let's get to some more of these. Everybody hit that like button, says Enrique. Appreciate you. Millie says it's Trey Lance season over. Yeah, unfortunately, we talked about this yesterday, actually, in detail. Kyle Shanahan basically says he's not going to play for this season. They kind of shut him down. And, Trey Lance, there's a surgeon that says he can heal in 10 to 12 weeks. That's a different story than actually being ready to play. So, yeah, he's 22 and he's going to be able to heal. But unfortunately, I think Kyle wants to, for the fans that want him to play, I think Kyle's going to sit there and say, hey, look, we don't need to rush him. And I agree with it. I think the safer route is to let Trey Lance, sit back, let him rehab, let him focus, let us get his mind right. Because the biggest thing is going to be mentally. And Jimmy today in his press conference, we'll get to this, they asked Jimmy Garoppolo, what do you think about going through rehab? Do you have any advice for Trey? And he says mentally it's the hardest thing, to cope with. And that's what I've been saying, mentally is so frustrating. It's so hard when you're going through any type of rehab. So it is going to be something where Trey has to kind of get over that hurdle of, his thoughts. He's going to have to battle his own thoughts. He's 22, so he's going to be able to physically get better, but mentally is the grind that, he's really going to have to focus on. But unfortunately, he will be shut down for the rest of the year. But again, I think it's the safest route for the long term. Juan says, remember when Hufanga will be the first one on the field for practice? It's paying off big time. Yo, that's so true. And D'Amico talked about that today in his press conference. And it's kind of what I've been saying is this man prepares so hard. Talanoa Hufanga goes out there and he's grinding. And D'Amico, I posted a video clip of it today if you guys want to see it later. It's just the audio. I didn't pick the video in it. But he says that Talanoa, when everybody's inside the locker room, he's outside working. When everybody's inside, he's out there grinding. So, yeah, Talanoa Hufanga, man, all that hard work, all that preparation is definitely paying off. And you can see it. And that's exactly what D'Amico Ryan said. Good comment, Juan. Basically, if you want to be the man, you got to pretend and practice and prepare to be the man. And that's exactly what Hufanga is doing. The game he's playing so far has been amazing. His instincts have been incredible. I talked to Eric Davis yesterday. We were on Instagram and he talked and he goes, he just has that ability to, sense where things are going to be. He explained it as the matrix. Like he knows where to be at all times. He just knows these tendencies and he has that ability to track the ball and, know where things are going to be at a moment's notice. It's crazy. His instincts are off the charts, man. And that is why Talanoa is so good because he knows where the ball is going to be before the ball is going to be there. Like he knows where the ball is going to be before the ball knows where it's going to be. You know what I mean? Good dude. I love him. So I made up that nickname. Yeah, I did. Going back to Kittle over the middle. That was my saying. That was the big thing. KOTM. Caught him. Kittle over the middle. They posted it ever since, back in those days. The Niner page uses it. A lot of people have used it. I remember I used to be Kittle over the middle, screaming it. And it took off for a while. I remember that. But they made shirts. But unfortunately, I dropped the bag. I took an L on it because I should have licensed. I should have copyrighted it. I think Kittle's merchandising team actually makes Kittle over the middle merchandise now because they saw how big that name was blowing up that year. And then I found out that they took the copyright. That's when I learned my lesson. And I realized, hey, if you make something up, you got to go and copyright that. Laurente says, is Mason running back too? That's a good question. I hope we get to see Mason. He hasn't had a chance yet. He's an undrafted rookie. Again, the fact that Mason has made the team was a big dub for this guy. Undrafted. That's amazing for him. But I think It depends on practice. They called up Marlon Mack this week to the active roster. He's a veteran. I'm sure he could come right in and kind of learn the ropes a little bit faster than a guy like Mason. But Mason had a great offseason and, a great training camp and preseason. So I think they're going to battle. Kyle Shanahan likes to have his guys go in there and battle it out in practice. And whoever looks better is going to go out there and get some chances. So is Mason running back too? It's to be determined. Whoever kind of is able to step up this week is going to take that role. And, Kyle goes with the hot hand. Last week, Ty Davis Price was the guy. So to me, it tells me that Ty Davis Price probably beat out Mason in practice. He looked good, and then unfortunately he got hurt. So Mason has a golden opportunity in his hands. I think eventually Mason will get some opportunities, but he's undrafted. He's got to go out there and prove himself, My man Millie says Jimmy is going to make it to the Super Bowl. You mean? You never know. This team has a solid team overall. I mean, the defense is unbelievable, probably the best in the league. Jimmy's playing with house money, nothing to lose. I feel like today in his press conference, he just feels like he just looks like he's loose. He doesn't care. He's feisty. He's ready to he says, I want to let it rip. I want to push the ball down the field. Like, this is a different Jimmy that we've seen, and he's happy. He's ready to rock and roll. You know what? Before I'm gonna get a couple more questions, and I want to play the Jimmy Garoppolo press conference. We'll talk about it. Noah says you definitely made it. Look at all the bots. Can you believe we got bots on YouTube? I didn't even think that was a thing. This is unbelievable. Oh, Noah says, do you think D'Amico Ryans is gone after the season for a head coaching job? It's definitely possible. Shout out to Big D'Amico. He turned down a head coaching job, I believe, with the Vikings last year to stay with the Niners. He wanted to continue to develop as a coach and stay with the team. And he wanted an opportunity to take this team to a championship, and pad his resume. And I think that was amazing. I was so happy when D'Amico turned down that job, man. I love D'Amico. He's such a good defensive coordinator. I mean, he's got this defense just playing at a high level. I think he can be a head coach. He should have been a head coach this offseason. I don't want to lose D'Amico. I mean, you got to do whatever you can to figure out how to keep him. But, I mean, if he does get a massive head coach opportunity, you can't take it away from him. That is amazing for him and his family. He's worked his ass off, and he's just got to continue to climb the ladder in coaching. And I think it would be a phenomenal experience for him, a great opportunity. I think he might leave this offseason. It really depends on how the team finishes. Like last season, they got so close. They were like so close to the pinnacle. And I guarantee you, like D'Amico and the rest of his team, man, they got that sour taste in their mouth that they wanted to get it out. And I think D'Amico really wanted to be back with this team for a chance for a Super Bowl. Again, we were one of only 4 teams left at the end when it was all said and done. Championship weekend, NFC Championship, AFC Championship. We were one of 4 teams left. And D'Amico was a big part of that. He made this defense so good. And we had bad corners to start the year. Josh Norman. You remember? I don't even want to say their name, but I said one guy. But, I mean, D'Amico helped transform this defense, and it's amazing what he's done. So, do I think D'Amico Ryans is gone after the season? I think there's a very high chance. But, again, it depends on how the season goes. If they lose like another heartbreaker, I could kind of see D'Amico coming back and say, no, let's run this shit back until we win it again. I hope we don't have a heartbreaker, though. Enrique says, met a guy today at Dutch Bros Coffee that went to high school with Hufanga. Let's go, man. That is dope. I don't know if he told you anything, but I'm sure he told you some good stuff, man. Hufanga's a vibe. Good guy, man. Everybody I know that's ever talked to him or met him or has known him in the past has said nothing but good stuff about Hufanga. The guy is just a flat-out hard worker, good dude. You could just tell he's a good guy. I mean, he went and got Trey Lance a Happy Meal this week. That was my favorite thing that was the best moment all week, was seeing Talanoa Hufanga go and get Trey Lance a Happy Meal. That was my favorite moment. Love it. I love it. Oh, man. A lot of questions to get to. We're trying to get to all your questions today. Slasher Gamer says, Raj, Lance was supposed to be how Hurts playing this year for the Eagles. Unfortunately, injury derailed him. Yeah, I agree. I think Hurts is taking that big step. People hated on Hurts. He had last year to grow and develop. And I think that's where Trey was going to be. He was going to have those lumps. He was going to grow and develop. And unfortunately, it got derailed too quick, and it sucks. But I think next year, Trey will be back stronger than ever. He'll be hungry, man, and I think he's going to be back and ready to roll. I'm excited for Trey Lance's comeback. It's going to be great. It's going to fuel him. But you're right. I think Jalen Hurts is having the season that everybody wanted Trey Lance to have. But Jalen, he put in his time. He got a lot of criticism. Everybody was hating on Jalen, except me and Smitty. We kept saying Jalen's going to be good. I think he's got that mindset. I like him. He's got that dog in him, and he's that underdog type guy where people were doubting him. He wants to go prove people, and I think Trey's very similar. But the thing, Jalen's a little bit bigger. He definitely, you can tell, he's had a little bit more experience in the league. He had more experience in college, and he's been in that weight room stacking up. And that's one thing too is people don't realize this was only second year for Trey Lance, and having that time, to be in the weight room and stuff like that. That's vital. And I think now we're not going to have a year where he's, had that season of development and then another year of the weight room. Now he's going to be behind the 8 ball because he's got to rehab, and get his body right to just be back on the field. And then when he goes back to rehab, he's got to get back on track to where he could have put his body in. So it is definitely unfortunate. But, I think Trey will be stronger than ever. LR says, bang, bang, Nana gang was all you. Yes, sir. You know the vibe. Appreciate you, man. Tell E40 to create. Actually, to talk about, me and E40 talked off the record about it. That's a long story for another day. But shout out to E40 capitalizing on things. That's just me being I dropped the bag on a lot of moments social media wise, man. I learned a lot through the years being a content creator and going through social media and, learn a lot. You learn, you live, you learn. And now I realize you got to kind of take advantage of moments that you have on social media because they happen so quick. Your window's so quick. So if you get something viral or something, you got to capitalize on it. Actually, I met Lindsay, the 49ers team reporter. She's cool. I met Kim Possible. I've met her many times, but there was this Woman of the Niners event I got invited to from some of my friends. I know it was women, but there was a bunch of guys. They were like, yo, come down, Raj. There's a whole bunch of guys there. I was like, all right, cool. And then we went and talked to Lindsay. So I might have something coming up. We're going to work on something like a segment or something. So stay tuned for that. Again, capitalizing on connections is something I never did in the past, and now I'm all about capitalizing. Millie says, is Elijah Mitchell still injured? Yeah, he is. He's out 8 weeks, at least with the MCL sprain. Tough injury. Luckily for the Niners is we stack running backs and we keep, getting guys we can plug and play. TDP went down, unfortunately, but we got Jeff Wilson Jr., we got Jordan Mason, who we all hope gets some chances, Marlon Mack, and then they signed Tevin Coleman yesterday to the practice squad. Tevin Coleman, the blast from the past, he's back. He might get a chance eventually if somebody else gets hurt. I don't want to wish injuries on anybody, but the Niners running backs and secondary or backfield, they go through a lot of running backs. They get hurt because they're so physical. They run the ball a lot. Eventually, Tevin Coleman might get called up. So, Vlad the Impaler says, what a coincidence. Jimmy's back and so is Kittle. There's a lot of people with the conspiracy theory. I don't know. I legit think that Kittle's injury was legit. I legit think I think that Kittle had a real injury, but I know there's a lot of people that say otherwise. But you couldn't predict Trey Lance's injury. So what do you think? That Kittle was going to sit out? Like, let's say Trey doesn't get hurt. Was Trey Lance going to start again this week if he didn't get hurt, right? And is Kittle going to sit out another week? I just don't see it. I don't buy it. But a little bit of a coincidence is what everybody's saying. I don't buy the conspiracy, though. Vlad says, Hurts was a Bama quarterback. Yeah, Bama and Oklahoma. He played at both. Big-time schools. He was a Bama guy. He was a Oklahoma guy. But people said, he played in these pro offenses that were tailor-made to score easily. He played in big schools with big receivers. The people just discredited Hurts a lot. But I seen the game. I seen the film. I like what I've seen out of him so far. My man, Baby Radius says, I should be the general manager of the Niners. Do you know how happy I would be if I was the general manager of the Niners? But I don't think I would like that job. It's a lot of scrutiny. There's a lot of adversity that you got to go through. There's a lot of criticism. I see how Niner fans act on a daily basis, especially after losses and decisions. I get a lot of hate already being in social media. I can't imagine if I was a GM of the Niners. I would pull my hair. I got gray hairs now. Not a lot, but I do. I'm starting to get gray hairs. My hair would be gray in a matter of minutes being a GM for the Niners. Have you seen John Lynch, he actually looks like he's in still good. Looks good, but if I even Kyle Shanahan, head coach, is probably even worse. This man's so stressed out. Have you seen the before and after? Somebody on Twitter posted a before and after of Kyle Shanahan in the last, like when he started to where he is now. Oh my God, the stress. I don't know if I have. I gotta see if I have it. Let me see if I have a picture of it because this stress was just absolute. It's disgusting. I feel. Oh, here it is. We are going to add this picture. Look at this. Look at this. We got a second. Give me a second. We're gonna add this picture. Kyle Shanahan looks so stressed. So I can imagine being part of this team, front office, GM, whatever the case is. Look at Kyle. Look at this man. Oh my God. He was so clean looking. He was young, looked so young. Now look at Kyle. Look at the stress on that man. Oh, holy smokes, man. Can you believe that? Look at this guy. I wouldn't want to be GM. I wouldn't want to be a head coach. That's stressful. I don't love it. I don't like it. It would not be good. Christine says, are you going to be at the game? The Denver game, I won't be there. I'm going to go to the Chargers game. I'll be at the Dolphins game, the Raiders game. I'm debating on going to the Monday night game against the Rams. I might be there at that one. So Vlad says, defensive head coaches aren't it. Not necessarily, not always. It's harder, I feel, for a defensive head coach to succeed in the league. You're right. I feel like his offense is a thing that leads the league. But you're right. I do usually see more offensive-minded head coaches, do better generally. But there have been a lot of great defensive head coaches that can, lead their team to championships. Pete Carroll, he's a defensive guy. He knows offense too, though. He's a hell of a coach. Bill Belichick, you can argue that he's a defensive-minded coach, but he's one of the best in the NFL, probably the GOAT of coaches, right? So I feel like defensive-minded coaches can succeed, but I think traditionally they have a harder time succeeding, I think, in the NFL. So my man, Sad Niner fan, says Vic Fangio to replace Ryans when he leaves. I think that's what everybody expects. That's what everybody thinks. I know Vic has been kind of a consultant. He's kind of been behind the scenes this offseason. He's been seen at training camps with the Niners. I know they've always said that they kept close relationship with Vic Fangio. I think that would be a guy that would definitely be on the top of the radar if the Niners were to, lose DeMeco Ryans down the line. So it's going to be an interesting offseason. If DeMeco leaves, I honestly think that Vic Fangio is one of the guys they may call if he wants to coach. Because, again, it's up to him. He took a little hiatus, a little break from coaching. He's been in the league for a long time, and he took a little step away. And, he was a head coach for Denver, and I think that maybe stepping back, looking at the game again, and then reconnecting with the Niners may be something he does down the line. But, again, that's something we'll see in the offseason. I do think that if DeMeco Ryans leaves, Vic would definitely be a guy that they'd consider. But there's going to be – we don't even know who else is going to be available at that time, right? We're still talking about months down the line. When that time comes, there may be some amazing candidates that we're like, "Ooh, we can't turn this guy down." So depends, but I definitely think that if there's a short list, Vic Fangio would be on there. John G, what's up? How we doing? Slasher Gamer says, would love to see Ryan get a head coaching job, but I don't trust the NFL when it comes to hiring minority coaches. Definitely a slippery, a hot topic. It's crazy sometimes with how things have gone. I mean, we saw what happened with Miami. Oh, man. You met me after the NFC Championship game. It's sad times. That was a sad day. I was probably very upset. I was so upset after that game. I don't even know. And we went and got, no, we were going to go out and eat. And then we just went back to the hotel, drank, and were pissed. And we went home the next day. We were so upset. We got in a fight with the Rams fan. This lady was going, horrible night. Horrible night. So my man Enrique talking about Hufanga and his buddy, the guy he met at Dutch Brothers, he said they still text each other. That's pretty sweet, dude. That's cool. He said he was a dog in high school. I bet Huff was a dog in high school. Can you imagine Huff in high school? He's probably like the coolest dude. Probably big man on campus. He was probably Mr. Popular. You know what I mean? Good stuff. Vincent says Niners owner needs to pony up. It's a shame these pros are eating. I thought that was wholesome, man. Trey Lance probably called up Big Huff and said, yo, give me the Happy Meal, man. I don't think that's like a bad thing. If you're in the hospital, sometimes you want to get like the most the most unhealthiest meal. You eat hospital food. I don't know if you've been around a hospital a lot, but that hospital food sometimes ain't it. Stanford Hospital is not bad, actually. He was at Stanford, but sometimes you just get tired of that stuff. Yo, Hufunga, go get me a Happy Meal. That's probably, that's a nice gesture. And you got to remember, Trey Lance is 22 years old. He's still a young man. I would probably want a Happy Meal. I remember when I was in the hospital last time. This is about 9 years ago now. I was like eating all this damn hospital food, and my mom finally pulls up and she goes, "You're not even eating your food." I said, "I got no appetite." She goes, "What do you want?" I think I wanted like a Wendy's chicken sandwich, like so bad. She went and got me a Wendy's chicken sandwich. It was the greatest chicken sandwich I ever ate in my life. So sometimes you just need some unhealthy ass food when you're in the hospital. Thoughts on Jimmy saying Kyle doesn't give him freedom? I kind of like that he's challenging Kyle. He threw him under the bus a little bit in his press conference, and he says, "Hey, look, I want some freedom out there." And I think this is something that we've talked about in the past, that Kyle Shanahan, he's kind of a control freak, right? He wants to be in charge of the plays. He wants to be in charge of everything out there. And I think Jimmy's seeing he's got nothing to lose. I hope Jimmy fights back. I hope he fires back, and I hope he challenges Kyle and goes out and runs the offense, because he says something today that, when he first came onto the team, it was 2017. He didn't know the offense. He didn't know the scheme. He was just doing what he was told. And he still, does what he's told, I'm sure. But I think now he's been in that offensive system for so many years that I think it's like second nature. He knows all the plays. He knows the huddle. He knows how to lead these guys. He knows where people need to be lined up. I think now Jimmy can go in with confidence and say, "Hey, look, we're doing this. We're doing this. Debo, come here. Debo, do this. Kittle, do this." I honestly think that he's going to have a mind of his own this year. And he's right. Kyle Shanahan likes to control the plays. His first 25 plays of every game are scripted. Like, it's a script out of a Broadway fucking play. Here's a script. Go run these plays. I mean, I get it. That's his thing. I think Jimmy wants to say, "Hey, look, I'm QB. This is me. Don't give me any handcuffs. I'm going to go out there and do my thing." I like that. I kind of like it. I mean, look at the great quarterbacks of all time. They go out there. They don't have a script. They just go out there and they look at the defense and say, "Hey, shit, he's lined up in this. We got to audible." Look at Peyton Manning, probably the most like he's probably the best like audible type quarterback. He would just sit back, he'd scan it, and he's like, "Oh God, Marvin Harrison, you're running this go route. You're gonna be wide open on this play. Boom, audible it out, touchdown." So I like that Jimmy's fighting back a little bit with Kyle. I honestly like it. I think we're gonna see a new Jimmy. I think we're gonna see a new Jimmy. I mean, he's playing with literally nothing to lose, man. And Eric says, if Jimmy does take control and start slinging it, Super Bowl, here we go. Like, yeah, if he takes control and he can be a quarterback that he wants to, and he's mentally, you know, out there and slicing it up. Like, if he's the 2017 version of himself and he's playing with confidence, like, I know he's not an elite passer. He's not going to throw 60 yards. He's not going to throw 70 yards. He's not going to throw these passes. We know what Jimmy is. But if he's confident, I don't care who you are. If you're confident and the team believes in you, you're going to do well. They're going to move the ball, man. And this team, they believe in Jimmy no matter what, no matter you like him or not. The team has his back, man. He has all the same weapons that Trey has. Kittle, Debo, Brandon Ayuk, right? We know the limitations. We know what Jimmy does. But I think he's going to go out there and he's going to play a different type of style this year. Maybe he won't. Maybe I'll be wrong. But I kind of have the sense that this is Jimmy's like last ride where he wants to be like, "Look, man, I got you. I got your back." So it's definitely a crazy turn of events. But I want to play his press conferences from today. We're getting close to this game time. I want to wrap it up a little bit. And now that we're going, man, I want to keep talking. You know how it goes. But we'll play these two here.
The cheers and the support?
Yeah, that never really wavered or anything. So yeah, I love our fans.
Jimmy, I don't know if you've had much time to sit and reflect, but has any of this felt surreal to you over the last, I don't know, week or so for the way this played out?
Yes and no. There's I don't know, part of me, you always want to be on that field, so it's you always have that in your mind that you're preparing that way, and then just for how things have worked out, I mean, it's pretty crazy, but I don't know, everything happens for a reason. I'm a big believer in that, and just it's just another opportunity.
Has there been a moment that just hit you? Maybe it was when you just went on the field the other day. But has there been a moment like that?
No, not yet. I'm just trying to stay in the moment right now. Honestly, it's I don't know. When that does happen, I've never been a backup and had a starter get hurt like that. So it was I don't know. It was a different experience, but it was something that you take in stride. And like I said before, Trey's our brother, and we talked to him the other day. He seems to be in good spirits right now.
I know it's a different situation compared to what you experienced playing backup for Tom, but is there anything that you took from that experience for this small portion that you were quote unquote backup here?
Yeah, definitely. Just the preparation. You don't get the same reps when you're the backup, so your mental preparation is different. Running scout team, I love running scout team. It's always fun. So got to do that for a couple weeks, but yeah, now it's just back to normal, I guess.
Having gone through what you went through in 2018, what would
Couple weeks, but yeah, now it's just back to normal, I guess.
having gone through what you went through in 2018, what would you kind of advice would you give to Trey for here on out the rest of the season?
I heard Bosa's presser the other day, and he worded it pretty well, because there is a moment where you feel like your life is over and you feel like I can never get back to where I was, but that passes, and it just you got to hit a point where it does pass and you mentally move on from that, and there will be hurdles for him to overcome. But I've been around Trey for a couple of years now. He's a tough dude, so he'll be all right.
Still obviously developing as a quarterback. I mean, what can he do these next 3 or 4 months to continue to grow in some way, even though he's not on the field?
The mental stuff. I mean, he's already been in a couple meetings with us through Zoom and stuff like that. So, whatever you can do mentally, physically, it's it's tough right now, but he'll get back.
Your teammates talk about you.
So there it is. So that was not all of it. That was part of it. You get the gist of it. He says, I still love the fans. He loves the fans. And this is the thing. The fans, man, they hyped him up after the game. The fans are happy to see Jimmy. He's happy to see the fans. And I think the fans are kind of relieved that they kept Jimmy because of the injury. It's unfortunate for Trey, but it was a good insurance policy for them to keep him around. And I think Jimmy's excited. He knows what it takes. He did offer some support for Trey. And he said, it's going to be mentally tough, but, I think he's going to get through it. He'll be all right. And he talked a lot about how, he just mentally has to be out there and prepare. And now he's the starter again. It's kind of back to normal for him, and he knows exactly what to do. So I feel like Jimmy's going to come in, and he just seems like he's loose. He has nothing to lose, and he's got everything to gain. So I honestly think that he's going to be fine. And again, I know he's not like the greatest quarterback in the world, but I feel like it might be the year where he puts it all together. And this team, again, it's a team effort. And you got a lot of players that went to 2019 Super Bowl, right? You had Bosa, you got Warner, Jimmy Ward, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel. A lot of these players, Jimmy Garoppolo, all these players, they were so close. Arik Armstead, they were so close. They know what it takes to get there. And I think they got this like bond. Kyle Juszczyk, Mike McGlinchey, they have this bond. And that makes them stronger than any other team. They're such a tight-knit family. And I think that's why they respect Jimmy so much, because he was one of the guys that was with them in that like dogfight where they ended up losing. And it was a very, very sad ending, but he was it doesn't matter. Like it could have been fucking Ronald McDonald as quarterback. And I think if he was the quarterback, they would be supporting him the way that Jimmy G. And I think that's why Jimmy gets that love, because he was part of that 2019 team that was so close to the pinnacle. And they respect him because he was the family man. He's like family to him. I just don't think that they got, and I think they have Trey's back, and I think Trey's like their younger brother, man. They love Trey. I think people get it twisted. They absolutely love Trey, but Trey wasn't part of that 2019 run where they made it close to the top of the mountain. He wasn't Ronald McDonald, man. Jimmy Garoppolo was Ronald McDonald that year. So that's why they love Jimmy, man. And they're going to go to war for each other. So like when you get to a championship, or if you're doing something with a group of people all the time, and you like have this great moment with them, you're always going to remember them. When you go on this like amazing trip with someone, you're always going to remember that trip, because those people, you're always going to have new friends in your life, new family members in your life. You're always going to have new people that come into your life, but the people that you forge those bonds with, you can't replace that. You know what I mean? But we'll see what happens, because you got to also put Kyle into it. He's had many leads in his past. He's gotten to certain points in his career where he could have won a championship, and it all fell apart. So, he's got to be able to be aggressive, put the pedal to the metal, and take this team. He's got to lead them. He's the head coach. He's the leader, and he has to continue to lead them to greatness. He has to lead this team to glory. And I think Kyle does limit people. I think he has his moments where he overthinks himself. He's smart. Sometimes he's a little too smart. When you're smart, sometimes you get a little too smart. You get a little too cocky. I think he just needs to dial it back, and I think he'll figure it out. But one thing I did say this week, and I've said it a couple weeks, I think not having Mike McDaniel is going to be a tough strain on Kyle, because I think Mike really helped him out in game preparation throughout the week, getting their installments ready. I really feel that Mike McDaniels is going to be missed. I think Kyle is going to have a lot of hats on, and I think that is going to put a lot of strain on him. But hopefully Anthony Lynn is helping him out, and then Brian Greasy out there. But I don't think you can take away, you can't really replace what Mike McDaniel was doing, man. This guy was special as a extra coach for Kyle. He's been with Kyle since Kyle was coaching. They've been in the same coaching staff for the last 13, 14 years, man. So I think that's a big loss for Mike or for Kyle. So my man C-Mac in the building. He says if Jimmy starts slinging it, the risk for interceptions is at an all-time high. Well, we better get him right back with this defense. We'll see. Oh man, that's true, because a little risky. Sometimes he's a risky gunslinger. He's like Brett Favre, just slings. He just likes to sling it sometimes. He makes these very, I don't know if they're calculated or uncalculated, but he does make some mistakes. So Real Teal says, Raj, let's talk about when Jimmy brings us to and possibly wins a Super Bowl. What happens with Trey? Thoughts? I mean, you gave up 3 first-round picks for Trey. He's your future. You're keeping him. He's a rookie contract. But I do think that there's a very high likely probability that Jimmy Garoppolo stays, because, again, he's going to be your insurance policy for Trey, because no matter what happens, Trey Lance is coming off a major injury, and you don't want to risk him going through another one. You're always going to have an insurance policy. That was the reason they got Trey Lance in the first place, was they knew Jimmy wouldn't stay healthy, so they got Trey Lance, and the most ironic thing happened. Trey Lance got hurt, and now Jimmy's back because they needed that insurance policy. So I think that there's a realistic possibility, and I've said this before, that Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance are both on the roster next year. It's crazy to think, but it really depends on how Jimmy does, unless Jimmy balls out this year. This is just another crazy thought. Jimmy goes crazy this season, has an amazing year, and some team offers him a contract you cannot refuse. There's a contract you can't refuse. They go, here, Jimmy, here's this contract. We want you to be our quarterback, and it's a contract that nobody would ever touch. Jimmy's going to take it. And now the Niners have Trey Lance, and he's our starter quarterback, because that's why they drafted him for. He's the future. But you still would get another quarterback as his insurance policy, unless they really feel confident on Brock Purdy. But we'll see. I mean, I like what I saw of Brock Purdy in preseason, but he hasn't played a snap of football in the NFL regular season. So we'll see. I think Trey's your starter, though. I mean, this was Trey's team this year, and I think it's going to be Trey's team next year. I think Trey Lance is your starting quarterback for the 49ers in the future. That's why they got him. I don't think that they move away from him. I don't think you trade him away. I don't think you lose him. I think Trey Lance is your starter. And then next year you go and develop him. No matter what happens. No matter what happens, Trey Lance is your quarterback. You drafted him for that reason. You put him in as quarterback. I know a lot of people probably like, oh, Jimmy, if he wins a Super Bowl, well, Jimmy won the Super Bowl. And there's going to be a lot of people that say, oh, Jimmy won a Super Bowl. It's not fair. Well, Trey Lance is your starting quarterback, and he got injured last year. It wasn't fair to him, but now it's his chance to go and get his opportunity. So that's what I feel. So Cass Legion says Kyle gets tunnel vision. I agree. Real Teal, appreciate you, my man. Thank you. Jimmy and George Kittle back, the dynamic duo, Batman and Robin, they are back. You can tell George Kittle's he's a little kid in the candy store. Jimmy's back. That's his best friend in the world, man. He gets to go sling it with his best friend in the world, and I think George Kittle's going to go out there and be super hyped. He's happy. Let's take 2 more questions. This game's about to start. Thursday night football with the Packers and the Bucks. Who do you guys got tonight? Who do you have tonight? Packers or Bucks? I don't like either team, and I think they both stink. I think the Packers, their receivers are not looking good. Aaron Rodgers is pissed. The defense isn't as good as they thought. Packers or the Buccaneers, they don't have any receivers. Tom Brady's getting older. His defense is kind of, they're okay. They're not bad. I like his defense, but I think they're not as good as we expected them early on. Both these teams are in shambles right now. I don't know. Who do you guys think is gonna win? Is it Steelers versus the Browns? I thought it was, for some reason, I thought it was. It's not Green Bay versus. I'll see who's playing tonight. Let's see, Thursday night football. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, it is Steelers and Browns. My bad. For some reason I thought it was. I don't know why I thought it was Packers and Buccaneers. Steelers Browns. Oh God, I'm gonna take the Steelers tonight. It's the Steelers Browns. My bad. You're right. I'm gonna take the Steelers over the Browns tonight. Mike Tomlin, he's a beast. He's a good coach. Anthony says Jordan Mason's gonna bring back Smash Mouth football. I love Jordan Mason. I really hope he gets a chance to play this weekend. I'm gonna go call Kyle and say, "Yo, play Jordan Mason. Go play that man." I don't know why I thought it was the Packers versus Bucks. It's been a long day for me. I apologize. Drew says, "Do you think Trey's injury showed us the locker room was more divided than we thought?" No, not it. The more I look back at it, this is a good question because a lot of people think it's divided locker room. Like a lot of people are saying Kyle Juszczyk, Mike McGlinchey, they don't like Trey. Like I've seen all this stuff out there. What I feel is, again, what I talked about earlier, I don't know if you heard me. I said I feel like this team has Garoppolo's back because he was at the Super Bowl with them. They went to the Super Bowl. They went to the NFC Championship last year, and Jimmy was the starting quarterback. And they knew what it took to get there. They were so close. And because they're like a band of brothers, they're a family. You got Jimmy Ward, George Kittle, you got Fred Warner, Mike McGlinchey, Kyle Juszczyk, Debo Samuel, all these guys, Nick Bosa, all these guys were there together, Arik Armstead together. And they saw what they went through all together to get that close and lose. And then the other part of it was they saw that guy that helped them, that was part of that with them, that run, that magical run, was about to get traded. He was about to get traded. So they probably felt a certain way. And they probably said when he came back, they just felt good for him. They just felt so good for the guy because they couldn't believe that he was at that moment, and they beat Seattle. And I think also beating Seattle, this team was just exuberant. I don't think that they hated Trey. I guarantee you that they don't. And I feel like a lot of people feel that way. I don't think so. And then especially when you look at the actions of this team over the last few days, Fred Warner, that mic'd up video showed me a lot. His team really loves this man. But I think Trey Lance is like their younger brother. He's their young brother. They got him. But right now, Trey's still, an unknown to them. They love Trey like a younger brother. But it takes time for that younger brother to get that respect from all the older brothers. You know what I mean? If you're a younger sibling, you got to earn that respect from people. So I think that it's just Trey not having enough time and moments. He doesn't have those moments with the team that Jimmy does. Those were moments you cannot ever forget. And Jimmy was part of these magical moments. The Rams game, the Saints game, those playoff games against the Packers. Those were just magical moments. Jimmy tore his ACL, right, in 2018. Those moments we remember. And I think the players have seen him through those years, go through all that shit with them. And that's why I think they support Jimmy the way they do. I don't think it's that they don't like Trey. I just think that they have so much support for Jimmy because he's been there through the years. That's all I think it is. So that's my take on it. I don't think there's any animosity or negativity. That's the way I look at it. But it is what it is. I might be wrong. You might be right. You never know. But anyways, at the end of the day, let's go watch the Steelers and the Browns. I completely got that wrong. I'm going to order some food. I'm hungry. It's been a long day. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys had a good day, enjoyed the chat. This was fun. I like answering questions. I tried my best. I tried to get to all of them as much as I could. You guys have a good rest of your day. And again, a couple things to talk about. George Kittle, real quick before we ended. George Kittle did come back to practice today. Good sign. A few players that didn't come back today. Arik Armstead, he's dealing with a foot injury. There's something to keep an eye on. And Dan Brunskill still out with the hamstring injury. So those are two guys that are out that I don't know if they're going to play this weekend. Arik Armstead, Kyle Shanahan did say he should be okay. He should be all right. 2 days without playing, that means it might be Kevin Givens' season on Sunday. We'll see. I hope Armstead's able to play. We need Armstead. I like that guy. He's solid in the middle, but we can't afford to lose anybody. If it's a minor injury, whatever, let him rest it out this week. But Armstead did miss his second practice today. George Kittle looked great today. And according to all the reports and the videos that have been posted on social media, and Dan Brunskill missed another practice. Hamstrings are tough. I think Brunskill's probably going to miss another week or two at least. So I love you guys and have a good rest of your day. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Not enough people are hitting that like button. Appreciate y'all. Have a good day.